Many people are chasing building an audience, but not a lot of people are focusing on building community. And that's what I want to talk about in this video today of really building a tight-knit community on social media. And that comes from being deeper with your audience, being transparent. There's a lot of things that can really help with that. But I think one of the biggest issues that I run into with my clients is they just want to focus on growing the audience, which is important. I personally think growth is very important, but then they neglect tightening their community, right? Or I call your community potentially your super fans, right? Because when you look at a typical social media funnel, it's top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, right? Your top of funnel is how you're going to get people to follow you, right? Your middle of funnel is how you're going to lock them in and build community. And your bottom of funnel is how you're going to sell to them if you're someone who monetizes or sells on social media, e-commerce, physical products, digital products. So I want to talk about how to really lock them in the middle of funnel and 3 things that you can start doing to build that community and create a tight-knit community. So number 1 is creating identity-based content. So identity-based content is where your audience is going to see themselves in that identity. It is creating a shared identity. Okay, so if you go to my social media, I talk a lot about being multi-passionate. If you're multi-passionate this, or if you're multi-passionate and you're struggling, multi-passionate is a shared identity that me and my audience have. I am multi-passionate. Most of my audience is multi-passionate as well. We share that identity, so that is a way that I've been able to build community. So you want to determine, what is my identity? What do I label myself as? Maybe a highly ambitious ADHD mom, or a stay-at-home mom who has ADHD, or a stay-at-home mom who also works a 9-to-5, or a caregiver as a mom and in life. What is an identity that you and your audience will have? And that is why in some of my videos, I talk about getting specific on who you want to speak to in your content, because that is going to be helpful when you're creating identity-based content. That could also just be like high-achieving corporate women, or corporate women who want to pivot and start their own business. You want to be able to create content around that specifically. So for example, you could create a piece of content that's like 4 lessons that I'm learning as a corporate woman who is pivoting her career and starting her own business. Or you could create another post that's, if you work in corporate and you want to start your own business, these are the things that I would tell you. Or if you're a highly ambitious woman with ADHD and you struggle with blank, here are 2 tips I would give you. Or I could say, I'm a highly ambitious woman with ADHD, and these are the 3 lessons I've learned from starting a business. You want to post and talk about that identity in your content. I'm not saying every piece of content. I think at least twice a week, okay? So because you want to build awareness around that identity for your audience. So the first place to start with community is a shared identity, okay? So I want you to really think about what that can be for you. Number 2 is shared words, phrases, inside jokes, frameworks, or concepts. This is not going to be considered growth content, really any of this. Maybe shared identity, but this specifically, the shared words, phrases, inside jokes, frameworks, and concepts, isn't going to be growth content. This is going to be content that is for your community. So maybe you and your community have an inside joke, or you have a phrase that you use at the end of your videos, or you have a phrase that you use at the beginning of your videos, or you have a certain framework that you're known for that helps your clients get results, right? Or maybe you have this concept that you've created. So for example, I talk a lot about wisdom sharing content, or messy middle content. So those are words and phrases my community knows that I'm associated with. I talk a lot about sharing your wisdom sharing content, messy middle content, and I talk a lot about that in my content so people associate me with those words. That is going to help you build community. And it could even be from a visual perspective, like the way you wear your hair, your clothes, where you film, objects, things like that. That is going to help people lock in with you as well. But the shared words and phrases is probably the most popular. And even just having these concepts that you do share that you've named, or analogies, examples, all of that is going to really help you build community as well. And number three, which I think is the most important, is shared beliefs. I talk about this a lot too in my social media. What do you stand for and what do you stand against, right? You want to create content around what you stand up for, right? You are for this, you are for that, and what you stand against, you are anti-blank. Right? So sometimes in my content, I'm anti-niche. That's what I stand against. I don't believe you need a specific niche to succeed. I am for having a nonlinear path and owning being multi-passionate and doing multiple things, right? So what are you for? Maybe you're anti 10,000 steps a day to lose weight. And you're for inclusive or intuitive eating or drinking while still losing weight or something like that. You need to figure out like, what are your beliefs? What do you stand for and what do you stand against? These aren't just opinions. These are things that you are going to be sharing with your audience. This is what's going to build community. This is what's helped me really build community because I repeat these all the time. You want to repeat your beliefs and what you're anti against on a weekly basis. You want to do this at least 2 times a week. And I call these picking your brand statements. I call them your brand statements, your power statements. These are 4 to 5 statements you've created that you're going to constantly repeat in your content. So people are associating you with those things. It's going to attract your community, but repel the wrong people who are like, I'm for niching. Those people aren't really in my community, right? But you're going to attract the people who believe the same things and you have those shared beliefs, right? So again, shared identity, shared words, phrases, inside jokes, frameworks, and concepts, and shared beliefs, right? And of course, like creating content, what I call messy middle content that's transparent, what you're currently moving through, deep storytelling content, and I can do some more videos on that as well, is going to be helpful, okay? But these are just 3 things that can get you going to really create that community. So if you all have questions on this, drop them below in the comments and I'm happy to answer them. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.